welcome back everyone. I am going to do another layout from our January-March catalog that is still active. We're just heading into March, guys. It's hard to believe it's almost already March. And I am going to do another layout from the Are We There Yet paper collection. This is actually one of my favorite paper collections in that I have a lot of travel photos over the years, and so I love to get travel-like papers and create with those. And so again, going back to my previous video where I had made a copy essentially of the artwork that was in the catalog in this newest book, I'm going to do the same thing with this layout here. So this layout, normally I would reserve doing a layout like this until after I had used a majority of the paper pack, and then whatever strips of paper I have left, then I would create a layout like this. But for purposes of today, I have gone ahead and cut up my papers and been going to lay this out just like I would any other time. I did create a sketch again for this like I did on my last one, and where I've got measurements. I've done a one-page version, and I have done a two-page version as well. Oh, I'm missing the other page. So I do have a two-page version that if you like to do two-page layouts. The photo I'm going to use is this photo here of my husband and I in Hawaii at Christmas time this year. So the colors actually work really well with this paper pack in that we've got some of these reds. I'm kind of wearing this papaya color. My husband's wearing that blue. We've got the blue shorts and the tan shorts, and then the white, and I think it goes really well as well with the title here, Our Getaway. So this is the photo that I am choosing to work with, and this is the page that we're going to build. So I have all of my papers here that are part of this paper pack. Again, these are the pieces that I have left of this first paper pack that I bought. I bought multiples of this one because I have lots of pictures that I want to scrapbook. But this is what I have left. But like I said, normally what I would have done with this type of layout is I would have saved it till I got to the end of using the paper for the most part, and then just played around with the strips. The way that I came up with the measurements is that I knew that a couple of these strips, like this one here, this arrow one here, the tags here, and then this piece that looks like was part of airmail, I know all of these are 1/2 inch strips. And so when I took my ruler, and I measured it out, and I said, okay, so how is that laying out here? How many tick marks off of my ruler does that make for a 1/2 inch? And then I kind of played around and I sort of measured things around, but a lot of these papers are overlapping each other, so some of these are guesses, but I started with a known measurement, and then I figured out scale wise what this was measuring on this particular picture to try and get to scale the rest of these strips. And again, it doesn't have to match exactly. Also on the cluster here, I've actually used this particular tag or sticker actually on the previous layout that I did. So I'm going to replace this with another option. And then for the most part, I think everything else is good. All right, so I'm going to put these papers away because I already have my papers cut. You're not going to have to watch me do that. So I'm going to put all of these away. And we're going to start working on creating this layout. So the first thing I did is the background is sapphire. So I got a piece of 12 by 12 sapphire and I gutted it. All gutting is taking out the middle of that paper so that A, you don't add bulk, and waste. Why would you waste that paper that you can use on something else? sitting behind a layout. So I went ahead and I gutted that. And then the next thing that I did is I trimmed up my paper, my white daisy that's sitting on top, to 11.5 by 11.5. So I took a 1/2 inch off of that paper. Now my trimmer, I actually need to replace the blade. You'll see that I've got these ragged edges because my blade is getting a little bit old. And so I'm going to just come in a little bit with an emery board and I'm going to clean that up. You can sharpen your blade a little bit by grabbing some tin foil and running the blade across the tin foil. But I think I've gotten past that point. I've done that already a couple of times on this particular blade, and I think it's just time to change it. White daisy is going to be the first paper that's going to show whether or not your blade on your trimmer needs to be replaced, because it is a thicker weight paper than the rest of our paper. And so that's going to be the indication that maybe it's time to change your blade or try and sharpen it. So if you notice, I'm going to layer these two on top of each other. But in this layout, there are spatters in the corners of this layout. And so with that is taking, you could do this one of two ways, just depending on how you want to do it. You could take your sapphire shimmer brush and you could do the spatters using this. Your other option is to take your sapphire ink and use a water pen or water brush to actually create those spatters as well. And that's the way I'm going to do it on this particular layout. And what I'm doing is I'm just pushing down on top of the ink pad here, and then when I open it up, there's going to be ink on the lid of this ink pad. Now, in order to keep my desk somewhat clean, I'm going to actually take one of our pizza boxes and I'm going to do the spattering inside that pizza box. And the reason I'm going to do that is that the spatters can go everywhere if you're not careful. And I want to make sure that those spatters don't kind of mess up my desk. And I'm hoping this is all kind of visible. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of light reflection problem, but I think you guys can still see that. I'll do that. Okay, so this is my water pen, and this is how I'm going to, and I'm actually just going to double check. I'm going to get some water out. I'm going to just make sure it's running clear. That looks good. And I'm going to go into my pad here, and I'm going to pick up quite a bit. I'm going to try and pick up, I'm going to add a little bit more water. And I want to make it pretty liquidy at this point because I want it to spatter. So I'm going to get a bunch on, and then essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tap in the areas where I want my spatter to go. And in this particular layout, I'm going to pick up a little bit more. It's sort of up in the corners is where it went. And you can see I'm getting some lights and some darks. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to get some dark, grab a little bit more. And you can see it's going all over this box, which is why I like to save my boxes for this kind of work so that I can try and keep my desk as clean as I can. And I'm just tapping on my finger. That's all I'm doing. All I'm doing is just tapping it on my finger, and I'm just trying to strategically place it in these corners. And the paper is going to cover up a lot of this. So, you know, I know I'm getting a little bit wide in a couple of spots, but that's okay. And I'm just trying to make sure I've got kind of just enough coverage. And I think I'm I'm going to do just a little bit more up here. There's no right or wrong here. It's just a matter of what you think works best for you, what you like. And just remember, this is going to be covered up. So I'm going to just clean off my brush again. I'm going to squeeze water out and I'm going to clean it up just so that I know that I've got a clean brush. Even though this brush looks dirty, as soon as the water runs clear on it, that means I've gotten all of the ink off of the bristles, and so next time I should be good to use that. So put the lid back on that and we're good, and then we can close up our ink pad and put that one away. Now, like I said, you can use the shimmer brush as well. And if you've never used our shimmer brushes, I'm going to show you. They come with this ring, this yellow ring on them. You need to remove that yellow ring before you can use the shimmer brush. So you pop off the cap straight off, and then you unscrew this piece. You take off that ring, and then what you're going to do, and I don't know if you can see this very well, but there is a little, there's a, I don't know what to call it. What is it? It's like a, it's not a pointed end, but anyway, it's the part that will bring the shimmer into the brush tip at the end, but it's sticking up from the base. So what you're going to do is you're going to be puncturing this particular space here with that. And it does require a little bit of effort. You need to really push it down, tighten it up, put your lid back on, shake it up, and shake it up really well so that you get the shimmer in all throughout the ink that's essentially in this pen. And then when you take the cap off, you pull the cap straight up. And again, doing it in the box is going to be safest. That way you don't, if this had already been primed, you have it in a contained space. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to get it going by pushing on the sides, squeezing it to start getting the shimmer liquid into that brush. Now, this is a pretty intense color. So you can see it's a pretty intense color. And I'm going to sort of do the same thing. I'm going to just tap on my finger, just like I did before. And I'm going to add a few drops. Now I've got a little bit too much on there. I want a little bit less. I want smaller drops. You can also do this with your block by putting some of the color on your block and grabbing it and flicking it off the block. That's another way to do it. And that can be a little bit more controlled if you're uncomfortable with the with just tapping it with your finger. So again, trying to get a little bit on that block, and then now I've got too many big splotches again. Now, if I'm unhappy with that, guess what? I have another side. I can play with the other side. So, so I might do that because I just made a mess. So I'm going to come back in and I'm going to try and dry it off a little bit, and then we'll do some flicks, and then we'll just decide which side we like best. That's the good thing about White Daisy, is that you can flip it over and use the other side if you don't like it. So again, just trying to get some nice splatters, some small and some large splatters. A little bit happier with this side here. All right, I think we're going to call that good. And I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. I'm going to put the lid back on this shimmer brush. And then I'm going to clean up with a baby wipe, or you could also just use a paper towel. I have both kind of handy in my office here. And we're just going to clean that block up. Just make sure you get all of it off so that you don't transfer that ink anywhere that you don't want it to be. All right, so we'll throw that guy away. All right, so I'm going to hold this up so you can kind of see the various different splatters. And so those were the two sides, and obviously I could still work with this other side, and we'll just see which one I like better when I start laying down my strips. All right, so, and you can see my pizza box is actually quite messy. I've got splatters kind of all around. So that's again why I use it. I even still got some splatters outside of the box on my catalog there. So that is step one. We're going to set this aside. Oop, and see, look, I got a bunch of ink all over my hands too. So let's just make sure I clean that up. And that way I'm not accidentally transferring. And just by cleaning up with a baby wipe in my office, here, clean that up. I just want to make sure I don't transfer that as I'm working. So I just want to make sure those are all cleaned up. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is, while this is drying, is how am I going to, I'm going to just set this aside. How am I going to create this layout? Now, as I said, I am going to use this picture, which I have already matted. The colors in the Are We There Yet set, we've got papaya, bluebird, sapphire, glacier, sage, honey butter, toffee, linen, and white daisy. And so we've got a lot of those colors represented here. But when I looked at this picture and I said, this mat, this is a piece of papaya, this mat doesn't really look like it's papaya. It looks like it's another color that's not in this strip of colors that that are represented for this layout or for this paper pack. And so what I did is I started looking through my colors, and what I came across is that I think this color is peach. I think this suitcase was also stamped in peach, and the reason is I tried it out. So there's the peach one, and then I had stamped it in papaya, and this just looks closer to being the right color for this, and it would tie in to the mat if I had a peach suitcase. So I'm repeating that color versus the papaya. This is second generation papaya. First generation would have been way too dark to match that. So that was what I thought. The other color that this could have possibly have been as well is our color of the year, which is melon. So melon is a color of the year, and that is a possibility. It could have been the light side of melon as well. So I'm just trying to hold that up so that maybe you can see what I was looking at. But it just looked a little bit more pink to me in this picture. Now granted, you know, the picture could have been adjusted and maybe it's not that color. But when I looked at it, the peach just seemed to be the right match for this. So that's why I went with the peach. Now, if you lay peach and papaya next to each other, you can see they're complementary. They're in the same color family. There isn't, they go together well. So just because a color isn't necessarily in the listed set of colors, you can play around with those colors. As you can see, papaya and melon go together great as well. so they have the same color tones. They're in the same color family. So play around. Maybe you don't have peach in your stash. Pull out melon if you have that. Or if you didn't buy the color of the year and you only have peach, then use peach. Okay, make it yours. But I just wanted you to show you that they have used a mat that is a color that is not in the colors listed in the bottom part of the page telling you what is in the Are We There Yet colorways. The other thing that I wanted to talk about besides that matting that we're looking at here is I did say that I've already used this sticker from the sticker sheet, and so I don't have that sticker to use again. So what I did is I looked at the stamp sets, right, that we used in our last layout, and I said, oh, okay, so this particular sticker is very similar to Come Away With Me, and this statement works for my picture. Come away with me, for my husband. And so what I did is I said, okay, well, how could I make this work? And I decided that I was going to try two different things. I was going to stamp it all in sapphire ink. And then what I did is to sort of mimic the brown that's listed here, I took my Earth Brown Blend pen, the medium shade, and I colored that circle. Then I said, well, what if I wanted the two-tone look, the glacier and the sapphire? And so I went ahead and I did the words in glacier, and then I did the top in sapphire. I'm going to play with these. I'm going to see which one of these two I like better. Do I like the glacier, or do I want the solid sapphire? Okay. Those, again, were decisions that I made. The other thing is the passport. That's also on the stamp set again. We used this one before. And I cut out some tags with the tag thin cut that is in this set. But these tags, you could, again, make yourself. Just, you don't need to have the thin cut to make that. You can just cut off the edges of a rectangle that you cut out. And then the other thing that is in this particular layout is the shapes. What are these called? These are the rubber shapes. Are we there yet? So the pieces over here on the right are these rubber shapes. We have some additional stickers that we're going to add, as well as the last thing I wanted to point out. Was that it? Maybe that was it. I think that was the last thing. Oh, we're going to use the stamp that is this arrow stamp that we used the last time. This tag here is also stamped with the stamp set Are We There Yet borders with this stamp set. So we're going to go ahead and prep that next. And this is Honey Butter, and this is the stamp set. The last thing that I also wanted to mention is that I may choose to use, in place of this piece, two of the Picture My Life card options. So there are two Picture My Life card options that I thought might work here. This Observations one, or this Date, Destination, and Details one. So again, I pulled those out of the Picture My Life cards to see if I wanted to use those instead. So again, options based off of what you have in your stash or what you have left in a kit. You know, not everything needs to match it exactly, but I'm going to come pretty close with this, other than that one sticker, I think. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and stamp this particular item. And these, again, are the borders, the Are We There Yet borders. And we're going to stamp the bottom of this. And I was going to do it in Honey Butter, but I'm using the dark side, and it's not going to show up very well if I do it in the Honey Butter color. So I'm going to pull out my 1 by 6.5 inch block. I'm going to lay my stamp down on my mat and try and get it straight because I kind of lifted it off and it could have gotten out of shape. I'm going to then pick it up with my block, and I'm going to grab my Sundance. Again, Sundance is not one of the colors here, but if I take Sundance and Honey Butter, they are complementary colors in the same color shade spectrum. Honey Butter is just a little bit lighter than Sundance, and so this is going to work really well to show up on the dark side of the Honey Butter tag that I have here. So I'm going to open this guy up using my my foam, and I don't need to ink up the whole thing. I just need to ink up enough that's going to cover the bottom of this tag, like so. Again, I want to hold it there a little bit longer to try and get the ink to show. So hopefully everybody can see that. So again, Sundance ink on the Honey Butter tag. All right, so we'll just clean that off and put that away. So now that we've done that, that is the only prep that I needed to do for this before we started assembling. So I did the prep of showing you how to get the splatters and letting that dry and then prepping that particular tag, and we are good to go now, I think. So put that away, and we're going to bring in our pieces to start layering this together. All right, so this is pretty dry, looks pretty good. Just trying to decide which side I want to work on. And I think I'm just going to turn this over and just double check. I can fix that with our, just trying to decide which one I like better. And again, rotating your paper will also help kind of give you an idea of what you like. Okay, I think I'm going to do it like that. I think that's my decision now. I do want to be pretty generous with my adhesive along the edge because that's what's going to hold this white daisy piece onto that blue on that sapphire. So I do want to be generous with this adhesive so that I know it's going to stay down. All right. And we're just going to make sure we get that centered. All right. It looks pretty good. All right. So now that we've got that, now we're going to start layering on our pieces of, or our strips of paper that I've cut. And again, I'm going to follow this pretty closely, though I would probably say I wouldn't have followed it that closely if I was actually just using my scraps. I'm going to dry lay all of these to start with so that I am just double checking I've got all the pieces where I want them and that we're matching up. So just getting all my pieces out here that I can play around with. And I'm missing, I'm missing a piece. I'm missing a piece. All right, I don't know what happened to that other piece. Okay, well, we're gonna just work with this. So again, I'm just following the picture and I'm just laying these out. Now these pieces are overlapping each other. So they're overlapping and they are at different staggered lengths. So again, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that as you're putting this together. So this piece actually goes on top of this one, and this one's going to be out a little further. This one's going to be out past that. Then we've got this piece, which is sitting on top of this one. And I'm just eyeballing this, obviously. I don't have necessarily a huge, you can see I got some splatters there. I don't have a true measurement, but I'm just sort of creating this overlapping component. So I'm just trying to lay this out, dry lay this out, then I'll put my picture on to see how that looks. And make sure I'm getting all my coverage that I wanted to get. Okay, so then we've got this paper here. Then I've got this one down here. It looks like I need to shift a few things around because I don't have enough space down there at the bottom. So we're just going to play around again a little bit with this, moving some things up and giving us a little bit more space down here at the bottom. Okay. And then this guy is going all the way across here. Like so. All right, so now we've got all of our papers sort of in the spots, and now I'm going to take my photo and I'm going to just make sure that this is looking good. Now, when I did this, I guessed at the photo size as well. So just so you know, that was, I don't know if they used a 5x7 or if they used a 4x6. I used a 4x6 on mine, so that, just so that you know, I actually want some of these papers to stick out a little bit more than they are. So I'm going to just shift things a little bit to the right. And bring it down just a little bit, like that. Okay, so that makes me pretty happy. I think we've got that pretty well laid out the way that I like it. I'm probably going to push that guy a little bit this way. Okay. All right. So I think that looks good. So now that I've got that, I can lay out a few other things and just make sure that I'm happy with it. So the other thing I want to lay out is the title, Our Getaway, because I want that to be fairly prominent there. And then I want my suitcase to sort of see, is that where I want everything? And that's telling me right now that I'm not low enough. So I sort of need to shift a few things down a little bit more and play around with the spacing, because I don't want it sitting, I want the suitcase to not be covering up all of that piece. So with that, we're going to play around with this a little bit more. And this is kind of why you dry, this is exactly why, I shouldn't say this is kind of why, this is exactly why you dry place everything first before you get too far along, because otherwise you may get to the point and have everything down and then you don't like the layout. And as I said, I'm just trying to copy this particular layout. So I'm trying to get as close as possible to what they have there. All right, so that's kind of where we're going to start. So we're just going to relay these guys out again and play around with the spacing and just make sure we're still good. And then we can lay things down again. So then we got that guy. Okay. And nothing has to be perfect. This is art. I heard someone say this just today. Was it just today or yesterday? You know, this is art. It's not science. It's not. There is some science behind it because you're trying to play with color, and you're trying to play with proportion, and you're trying to play with your with design style, and there is science behind all of those things. But it's also what looks good to you, right? What do you like? All right, so now that we've got that, we can come back and play with our photo again. And I think that all works. I want to do this though, I think. I want to move that just a little bit more that way and that one just a little bit more that way. Okay. So I think we're good. I think this is what we're going to end up with. And then we'll play around with the top part up here once we're done with that. So okay, so we're going to take our picture off and we're going to start committing the paper to the layout. Now, I'm going to work from the bottom up, I think, on this particular one, and we will then hopefully get some good placement. But I am going to be light when I put this down on my paper. I'm not going to press it too hard because, and I'm actually going to straighten my layout so I can try and get my strips straight. That is always a problem for me, by the way. I'm not always good about keeping things straight. All right, so then we're going to take this guy, actually, we're going to slip it underneath this one. So we're going to take this one, and this is why I didn't want to push down too hard, because I want to be able to slip things underneath each other and play around with it a little bit. So as long as you're gentle, you can get the adhesive to move things around. All right, so now this one's going to go underneath that one that we just laid down. So again, same thing. I want to be able to slide it under, so I didn't really push it too far. And again, I'm going a little bit off, getting a little bit off kilter here. But we're going to do that and slide that guy down. Okay, so then this one's going to go underneath that one. Again, sorry, I'm covering up my pictures so that you guys aren't seeing what I'm doing. We're going to come a little bit more this way, I think, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to do this guy. And slide this one underneath, like so. And then we're going to add this one underneath here. Then we're going to add our location paper. I think I mentioned in the last video that I've been to every one of these locations other than the Great Wall of China, which I thought was quite impressive. I didn't realize I had been so many places. So a little bit about my photo, just in case people are interested. So we were in Hawaii on Oahu, and Oahu has this celebration every year where they bring out these gigantic displays, absolutely gigantic displays of different characters and things. And so obviously we've got Santa and Mrs. Claus here, and they're relaxing after their long night on Christmas Eve. And it's just so fun. They fill up this whole park with all of these displays. The local what are they called? The office, the city and county and state offices are also all in Honolulu. This is in Honolulu. And all the offices decorate trees in different styles and themes, and you get to see all the things that they've created. They have a huge Christmas tree. They've got local instruments, local types of instruments that are played, and they have a big Santa Claus, snow family, and like all of these really fun displays that they bring out every year, and it's like a fair. It's almost like a festival, and I had never seen that before, and so we went. This was right before they were taking these down at the end of January, not the end of January, but very close to the end of the month of January. And it was just so fun just to see all of these pieces. Okay, so now I'm pressing all these down because I'm pretty sure we're good there. I'm gonna bring our picture back in, and we've got that set, so I think that all looks good. So I think we're good there. So now we're just going to do our final decorating. And with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to lay out our suitcase, and we're going to lay out our getaway. And one of the things is that we need to do the stamping of this arrow. And so that arrow is in the Are We There Yet scrapbooking set. And we did this the last time on my last video. We're going to place our foam underneath so we can get a good stamp. And we're going to grab the arrow. And I need a block. So we're just going to grab a block. This block is a little big, but I'm missing some of my other blocks. And we're going to use papaya ink. So we're going to go ahead and grab that and ink that up. And what we're doing is we're getting our placement, and then we're going to move our piece, our gateway, kind of out of the way so that we can place this arrow. So I want this arrow to kind of go like that. I want it to be a little bit overlapping, and then we're just going to go down onto our page. Now, yeah, that was papaya. All right, and then we clean it off and put it away. Okay, so this then can go back here, and we will put that away. So let's go ahead and get our photo on, and then we can go and put on our title. I'm going to pop up this photo on 3D foam tape, and I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm using my microtip scissors that have that are non-stick, because anytime you're cutting something that is sticky, you want to use your non-stick scissors and not your regular. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to clean off your scissors. So I want to leave space up here at the top, and I actually want to leave a little bit of space over here on the right-hand side as well. So I'm not going all the way to the edges, and I'm not going to go all the way to the top, so that I can tuck those things in. All right, and I'm going to line this up down here where I want it. There we go. Again, I'm not going to really push too hard because I want to give myself a chance to work with it if I need to. All right, so let's go ahead and use thin 3D foam tape if I have any up here. I've been working in multiple locations in my house this week, so sometimes I don't have this as thin. Okay, so I'm going to do thin 3D foam tape on the suitcase and on the gateway, our getaway. No, not our gateway, our getaway. And so we'll pop those guys up as well to give them some dimension. I do like dimension on my layouts. I think it gives it more visual interest. So this is kind of the boring part. I'm still learning to edit my videos, so unfortunately my videos tend to still be a little bit long as I'm learning how to edit and make them more reasonable in space. But all right, and then we want to put some foam tape on this guy, which I probably should have done before we started the video so you guys didn't have to watch that part. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the title down first, and then we can place our suitcase after that. Okay, so since we want it to be close to that arrow, we want to lay that part down first. Okay, that looks good. And then we're going to put our suitcase right underneath that, like so. Okay. All right, so the next thing is this cluster up here at the top. And so this cluster is comprised of a tag, a passport, and then some stickers, and our options for the sticker that I don't have. So we're going to go ahead and pull out the stickers here. And we want the globe from the sticker sheet, so that's the globe. We're going to go ahead and again take the sticky off with our anti-static pouch. So that we can place it and we can work around it. Now, there's a couple of big pieces. When you're doing your embellishments, you want to start with your biggest piece, but we have quite a few big pieces with the tags and with the globe. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start playing around. So I'm going to start with this tag and decide if I like this with the globe. And the thing I think I don't like is that I don't see the words. But that color doesn't quite work with the globe. You kind of see what I mean? The color, this come from away is too close, or come away with me is a little too close. So let's just see if this works any better. And then we've got the passport that's going to go in here like that. Just trying to see if that works. I'm playing around because, again, I didn't have that particular sticker, so I actually think I like that a little bit better. I think these are all going to be too big, even if I cut it down. Because I can cut this down and not just have like date and destination. I'm just trying to see if I like that, if I just do date and destination, but I don't think I like that. And I don't think I have observations now. Those two won't work. All right, so I think that's going to be, I think that might be what I do here. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. One of the other things that they did here is they've got a little strip of paper that they've fed through this loop here. And essentially what they did is they just took a little itty bitty piece of paper and trimmed it up and then used it as a string, right? And so they took about, I'm guessing it's about 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to see, that looks a little too big actually. I think we need it even smaller than that. We do. So I think we need to do one more strip here. Let's just try this size. See if that works. Yeah, that looks better. And essentially what they did is they took, this is 1/8 of an inch strip that they just did. And it got fed through this tag and just folded. So they just fed this through. Might have even been smaller than 1/8 of an inch from the looks of it. Because this hole is tiny, tiny, tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. There we go. Actually, let's do this way instead. There we go. Just be careful that you don't tear the paper. Ah, still did it wrong. I want it like this. There we go. And then just sort of fold it on itself and have it offset, just like that. And then that tag goes in there. All right, so I think we're good with this, and so I think we're going to lay these down. So the tag, this is going to go down flat, and I am going to put a little bit of adhesive on this piece of paper just so that it lays flat. And we're going to stick that in, and want it a little, I'm trying to see if I can get it a little bit lower than that, but it looks like I'm going to be right about there. And then we're going to put those strips down. Then I'm going to put the Come Away With Me. And I'm trying to give it some, see most of that. This I'm going to put up on 3D foam tape because I want it to be more proud than the tags. And we are almost done with this layout. Honestly, this is pretty much it. We've got just a couple of stickers, additional stickers to put on, and we're golden. All right, so this we're going to go ahead and just sort of place right up against that picture, like so. And then we're going to put some 3D foam tape on the top of this passport piece, but just do regular adhesive because we're sticking this underneath, we need to bring it up to the same level as the globe. But we're not going to put it on the bottom part. We're just going to put regular adhesive down there. And we're going to stick that like so. All right. So now that little cluster is done. The last thing that we need up in that little cluster are some of these stickers. And we've got these pluses. So we're going to grab that little plus there. And again, we're not going to put it straight up and down. We're going to kind of put it on a little bit of an angle. And the same thing, there's a little glacier one down here. We're going to do the same thing with that one. Just like so. And we've done this right-hand cluster. So we're going to come down here and we're going to do this next little bit, which is the rubber shapes. And we're going to grab two of the rubber shapes out of here. We're going to grab this suitcase. We're tying in the color, right? We're tying in this color down here in the corner. So this is giving us, again, a visual triangle, but also a color triangle. So we're going to grab that suitcase, and then we're going to grab this suitcase, this brown coffee suitcase, and we're going to layer these on top of each other. And they're going to kind of go over a little bit over the matting of the photo. Like so. Don't think they popped up their photo because this needs to come down just a little bit, I think. All right, so we got that. Then we've got another sticker here, which is The Adventure Begins. So we'll grab that one. And we're going to put that just under the photo here. Like so. Then we have, again, some more of those pluses, and I'm not sure, oh, I do. Okay, here we go. Wasn't sure if I used them. So we're going to do in this corner, again, mimicking kind of what we had in the other corner. So we got that plus, and then we've got this one right here. Like so. Then if we come up here to the top, there's the geo tag. So we're going to grab that. And we're going to place that close to that arrow, so they're located close to each other. And then the last thing we have is our last tag. Uh-oh, did I lose it? That always happens. I wonder if it happens to everybody else. I have everything together, everything's organized, but then once I start putting stuff together, I lose pieces. I lose this piece or that piece, and then I have to tear apart my whole desk to find it. And it looks like I've done that same thing with, oh, there it is. It was right there on my layout. Here's the tag. There's also a circle here. And I forgot to grab a circle. So I'm going to see if I have one handy, and I think I do. So whenever I thin cut stuff, I do create extras, usually when I thin cut. So this is an old basic circles, and this circle is, I just stick it in with my thin cuts, so in case I need something, I can grab it, and it's already been thin cutted, and I don't have to worry about, bringing out my machine or doing anything like that. So this is, again, we've got a little strip of paper, again, that is being used here, and that just looks like white, possibly white daisy. So we're going to go ahead and cut a little piece of white daisy to put in this. Again, same thing, it's only about 1/8 of an inch. And you could probably cut this by hand if you wanted to, a little strip. But I'm better at the trimmer than I am freehand. When I freehand anything, it's just it goes very wonky on me. So we're gonna put that through, and then this is where my journaling is gonna go. Now I don't have my journaling done, so I'm not gonna add that today, but this is one of the places where your journaling can go. So White Daisy is thicker than that other paper, so this is a little bit tougher, but I'm gonna get it through, and then I'm going to trim it up like so. Okay, and then this tag is going to go right there on this. I am going to be careful because I don't necessarily want to have a bunch of adhesive on my picture. Oh, okay, it's not overlapping too much on my picture, so there we go. And so we're going to grab this, and we're just going to layer this on the circle first, like so, and then we'll put some adhesive on there, and then we can slide this where we want it. Kind of like that, I think. And then we're going to tap down these little pieces so that they stay in place as well. Like so. Oh, I don't like that. Let's do that just a little bit more, like so. All right. So here are our two layouts side by side. And I think we did a pretty good job of matching it, of being true to the layout, but also when we didn't have something, being able to replace it and use it with something else. And I think I've got everything on here. So, like I've said in the past, I do have a diagram that I've created, and I will add this to the bottom so that you can grab this PDF. And if you want the 2-page layout, go ahead and go to the description below. There'll be a link, and I will be able to send you that layout if you sign up for my newsletter. And then lastly, if you enjoyed this, leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like me to do next out of the catalog. If there's a particular layout you would like me to try and recreate, I'd be happy to do that. And if you like it, please like the video. Happy to get those likes. It always feels good. If not, have a great time. I love making layouts, and hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I will see you soon.